Welcome everyone to another StackChart Spotlight. Garrett, how you doing, man?
Good, bro. How you doing? It's good to see you. President's
Good.
Day.
Good to see you too. Yeah, President. So this is an interesting one. We're off today, and I'm sure most MSPs are like, "What do you guys think you are, a bank?" Yeah, we
Uh,
do.
yeah. I mean, man, in my experience, we were working. If the clients were working, we were working. We weren't always like, all hands on deck. But days like today, it was always, we were ready. But it was. I guess it just depends on the federal holiday, things like that. So,
hmm
yeah.
Absolutely. So, what are we talking about with today's StackChart Spotlight?
Whether we are talking about VoIP, which is arguably a mainstay in our stack.
hmm
I don't care who you are. You've touched VoIP or PBX. You've touched something with telephones at some point in your career. So this is as deep as an RML or password manager, or some people this is all they do. So.
Absolutely, yeah. So, we I ran a poll on VoIP on LinkedIn, and I gotta say, I was shocked to see the results. I got 28 responses, which there could be more, but it's okay. You
Mhm.
guys are probably afraid to respond to my polls. You aren't sure what I'm doing with this information, so you don't want to respond, right? So I'm using it for this. Okay, so don't be afraid to respond to the polls. But as you can see, overwhelmingly, every MSP seems to love OIT VoIP. Are you surprised by this, Garrett?
No, I mean, I'm not. I know that LinkedIn, the way the polling works is you explained it basically, it doesn't give you a whole lot of choices. So I think if we had added others,
hmm
like VoIP and, I don't know, some others, but I think that would have gone down a little bit. But for the most part, I'm not surprised that they're the majority. I still think they probably would have been the majority, but see. Oh yeah, like the guy just said, how'd you miss VoIP? Yeah, so things like that. So, but no, I'm not really surprised to see that.
Yeah. So with that said, I want to take a look at the stack chart for VoIP. And
Hmm.
if we let me scroll up here. So this is the stack chart for VoIP. Now, there's something to be said about um, VoIP is voice over IP, and when we're talking about telephones here, but there's also UCAS. And can
Yeah.
you can I think the most important thing to keep in mind is MSPs probably don't differentiate between the two as
Hmm.
much as the communications vendors are. Companies like OIT and Intermedia, BVoIP, all these companies, they understand the difference between VoIP and UCAS, and they're probably marketing and selling based on those differences, and they're hitting all the appropriate buzz terms, right? But
Yeah.
for us lowly MSPs who are looking at VoIP as just another way to be sticky with our clients, and we're not trying to become experts with this service. Um, it's all the same.
Well, what VoIP and UCAS or just in
to
general?
to the simple basic MSP, they probably don't understand the difference, is what I'm saying.
Um, that'd be interesting to see, but yeah, it's just for the people out there, if anybody's wondering. VoIP is one of those things where, like we used a master agent at one time to get, to be able to resell and manage VoIP. That we kind of said, hey, we're gonna try to become a master agent ourselves, and but that was just specifically with VoIP. And this was also what has been around a minute. There's a lot of on-prem PBXs, things like that. That it was like cool. You have hardware to maintain and all that, but with VoIP, it's really specifically like, hey, we're going to connect your phone service it's internet based, and it wasn't always the greatest quality, especially in the beginning. But as things started, the internet started getting faster. It started getting much better. It started getting better. People started realizing, hey, there's a lot of flexibility here. I'm kind of plug and play in a lot of instances, and that was all it really offered. And a lot of times that's still really all you need. It also depends on the client, but it also depends on your service offering. But UCaaS comes in the picture. I think UCaaS is more of a reflection of where we are today with multimedia, like Teams and messaging and chat, and just this collaboration that we can just instantly do with others. It just sort of helps keep all that together while offering all these variety of services where, on one hand, you could help offer like, hey, I could just do just the VoIP with the phone. That's all you care about. You're like, cool. That's all I need. But then the UCaaS is you can go like chat messaging and video. There's a lot of things there. But the thing about it is, I think there's a compliance component to this, because there are some industries like law firms, medical firms that might need some of the UCaaS solutions could be plugged in somewhere. It just sort of kind of archives a lot of this communication for you for like e-discovery, things like that. But so yeah, I think UCaaS is more of a reflection of people want more, they need more, whether it's for the business or maybe it's regulations. But at the same time, it's like you come out looking like a superstar, being able to offer anything, while offering it lower cost. And are you going to be the one that owns the relationship, or is it going to be the vendor? So there's a lot of flexibility there with VoIP or UCaaS. So
yeah. So let's take a look at this StackChart for a moment. First of all, if you're wondering why some of the logos are full color and others look like they're grayed out, that's just our way of featuring vendors who have partnered with Channel Program. You can search, review, add to your Navistack, manage contracts for any vendor, not just vendors that have partnered with Channel Program. And if you're a vendor and want to learn more about partnering with Channel Program, Garrett, how can they get in touch and do that?
Yeah, just put a letter in the mail. Just send us a letter. I'm just kidding. No, just give us a ring. And there's all kinds of ways to get in. Kind of, it's not to get on something like this. All you need is people reviewing you. And that's a great thing about the MSP. It's not pay to play, but for the vendors, this is an absolute opportunity for you to come in and understand. Like, hey, I want to get more involved, and you can just give us a call, and we could definitely get you into the program. So you could definitely get out there in front of MSPs. So there's all kinds of avenues we can help you with.
Excellent. For MSPs, if you don't like what you see here, like for example, I see Loop Communications, Ring Logics, and Connect Me Voice.
Yeah.
I'm going to put air quotes, the top 3 vendors here. That is simply by popularity. How many reviews do they have? So MSPs, if your VoIP vendor is not on the top here, we're leaving it up to you to leave a review. You can scroll through here and you can find GoToConnect or OIT VoIP, BVoIP, Nextiva. There's a ton of them in this list, right? Find your favorite platform, or if you have multiple, find your favorite platforms and leave a review. It takes a few minutes because we have a bazillion questions we ask, and that's because we want to make sure we give other MSPs that look at your review the ability to make well-informed decisions during that software selection or vendor selection process. So take a few minutes and fill that out, and we will reward you with a $15 gift card once that review is approved.
Steve, just for a bit there, there's a lot of different vendors on here. So like, how they get on there, in the beginning, the major guys, we seeded just because it's like we all know who they are. But everybody you see here, they've been added because there are MSPs who are adding these guys to their stack, and saying, I use these guys. So everything you're seeing here is not just like, we just threw up a list. It was MSPs are actually submitting these guys, say, I use these guys, add them. So that's how they're on there. So check it out. See what your other people in the community are doing.
Absolutely. So let's talk about VoIP for a few minutes, Garrett.
All
One
right.
of the things that I often wonder is VoIP a commoditized service? And the reason I ask that is, there's like a handful of phone vendors like Grandstream, Polycom, Yealink, and what feels like 100 VoIP vendors to choose from. And it seems like they've all got the same kind of features. They've all got call parking and system attendance and voicemail, find me, follow me. Some of them have interesting ways to describe it. They've come up with their own names for find me, follow me, or whatever, right? But it
Mm-hmm.
seems like they all have the same kind of features. So do they actually have the same features and similar pricing at that? What makes a VoIP vendor stand above the rest? What do you think?
Oh man, that's a good question, especially with VoIP. I think for the most part, it has been commoditized to a certain set of features.
Mhm.
Now, as for switching up how we're going to be different, I think there's a range. But when I'm looking at somebody, say, okay, you know what? I don't know, you're $15 a line, all in, whatever, or whatever. I think there's a range that I'm like, okay, that's acceptable. But I think we're at a point, not at a point. I think it's always been a point where it doesn't become about the features really anymore, because everybody can do the same thing. There's, everybody sort of knows what the bare performance minimums need to be at, so you can offer it, feel comfortable offering, but it's about the support that you get. Are they, are they, if you open a chat support with your VoIP vendor, how quick are they going to respond to you, the MSP? I think a lot of it has to do with the relationship at this point,
Mhm.
because there's a lot of times it's like, hey, I'm just another customer, or like, man, I can get on the phone with these guys, or I could chat with them, or and for me it's like, in if I want to have that level of support, can I not have that level of support, or do I have to pay, whatever? But I think it comes down to a lot of that. Also, when things go bad, like phones, hardware, things like that, how are they supporting you? So you could turn and burn and get a new one in, and, things like that, or because it really all comes back down. That support that happens for you is for the customer. The customer is going to, really at the end of the day, they're going to be the ones that are going to benefit or suffer from that. So for me, in this, it really comes down to the relationship, and the support. So we had a great relationship, um, way back when, and that's what it really came down to for us. And that's what I think we paid a little more, but that's what it came down to for us. But that's one of those things where, like, in something that's commoditized like this, I think it's extremely important to look at that. It's like the price is not everything. There's a lot of guys out there you never heard of. They're cheap, not cheap over in the quality or anything, but they come out cheap. Maybe they were doing it as a strategy to try to create the customers like, hey, we're going to crank your revenue margins, but what are you going to do for my support? So definitely for me, I recommend definitely look into that aspect of the business, the
Mhm.
relationship, because that at the end of the day, that's what it comes down to.
Yeah. And I just want to chime in and say, um, you're absolutely right. I think there are three things that MSPs probably should be worrying about when it
Mm-hmm.
comes to a VoIP vendor. I think billing, who owns the relationship? Some vendors like Citricom, they own the relationship, and you are a referral partner, and you just get a commission. That's great for people who don't want to deal with the headache of taxes and chasing down money and all that, right? You just want to get a check every quarter or however often they pay it out, right? Um, Other companies like OIT Intermedia, they actually have both, where you can be a referral partner or a reseller, and whatever one you're comfortable with, you let them know, and they do that. Uh, and then there are other companies who only do the reseller type, and that could
Yeah.
be something like SkySwitch. I think Greenlink is only reseller type, and a few other platforms. VoIP, I think, is only a reseller type. Another thing to consider is support. Like you said, anytime that your customer has downtime, that's potentially costing you money. And
Mm.
it's costing you money because it's either costing you time or because you're shelling out uh, because you're not meeting the SLA or whatever, right? So downtime sucks. How quickly will the customer get support? Who's providing the support? Am I providing support to the end user, or is the VoIP provider going to provide that support?
Yeah.
And then finally, taxes. If you've ever looked at your cell phone bill or your office phone bill, or gosh, if you have a landline at home, you know that there are tons and tons of taxes and surcharges. Um, there's the state 911, there's FCC, there's robocall mitigation policies. There's a lot that goes into managing a VoIP business, right? So how
Mhm.
much do you have to manage when it comes to these taxes? Is it a done for you service where you just say, here's how much I want to charge my customers, you figure out the taxes and I'll put all that information on the
Yeah.
invoice and pay you? Or do you have to sign up for an FCC FRN number, OCN 499 filer ID, state 911 ID, probably others that I'm forgetting? And I only know these because I asked a guy who does 250,000 a year in VoIP. And unless you're doing that much in VoIP, I'm sorry, not a year, a month in VoIP. Um,
Uh,
and
it's a lot.
unless you're doing that much, it probably doesn't make sense for you to go out and uh, sign up for all these things, because you're going to spend at least 1,000 a month on the tax remittance, FCC filing, and robocall mitigation, and that doesn't cover the billing or the attorney costs to get everything set up, so on and so forth.
Hmm. Yeah, man. Somebody who's doing 250K a month. Yeah, I mean, you're going to have the resources to say, "Hey, we own this."
Mhm.
Now somebody like us, we're much smaller than somebody's doing 250 a month, and that's all they do is VoIP. That we did an office in Beverly Hills once where it was a brand new office, and we were standing up there, switches and firewalls and all the good stuff. They had VoIP in there, but there was nobody there we kind of fell into it by accident, not accident, but basically we ended up having to oversee the fire department line to make sure it could dial 911, as also as it went into uh, the fire, the little smart fire detectors, as
Mhm.
well as the alarm system. And it was only but in Beverly Hills, though, they had all sorts of licenses and fees, and I was like, man, and we had to be there, and I was just, and this was a small part of what you would have to be responsible for. I was just floored by all the paperwork that was required just for these three little things. For me, it's like, look, it definitely works, but there's a lot of that. And I was like, man, I don't want to be, I don't want to be a part of that, unless it's the only thing I'm focused on, which it wasn't. We were more security in the management, but this was Yeah, man. I couldn't imagine a full stack of full services to do all of that. That's just no, no.
Mhm.
It makes my stomach hurt thinking about that. So, no, I'm not down for that, bro. No.
I get it. I get it. And this is probably one of the reasons that a lot of smaller emerging MSPs, let's use that word emerging. I like that, right? Um,
All right.
the smaller MSPs who are maybe just one or two guys, maybe they're not even doing VoIP because it just seems like an overwhelming bear of a task. There are platforms, as you can see, if you look at our list here, um, there are platforms on here that will work with you on a referral basis, and you don't have to. You don't even have to do tech support if you don't want to. They'll handle it all, and you get a check.
Mm-hmm.
So,
Yeah.
if you have not done VoIP because you've just been a little gun shy, check out some of these vendors on the Channel Explorer on channelprogram.com. If you have been doing VoIP for a while and you've got thoughts and opinions on your vendor or other vendors you've worked with, leave some reviews. Let people know because, as you can see, VoIP we don't have a lot of reviews for these vendors here, and I would love to see more so that way we can help MSPs pick the right platform for them.
Hmm. Can I jump in on that behind that?
Absolutely.
Uh, so with VoIP as well, there's a ton of so a lot of these guys sort of spill over into UCAS as well because the
Mhm.
VoIP, what you see here, might be a feature they offer you can get alone, but they also a lot of guys also offer sort of a larger platform aspect. So check out the UCAS category for those of you who are watching, just because there's some really interesting vendors out there. A lot of them here on here as well, but and check out the reviews because there's so many of them, and I think they're very relevant today because a lot of the dedicated VoIP guys are not just I'm sorry, a lot of the VoIP guys are not just becoming dedicated VoIP. They're also realizing, hey, we could do this and that, and so just check it out. It's fascinating because they're they're one and the same, but they're not. So it's I think UCAS is more of a what we're seeing. VoIP is starting to mature in terms of what the solutions that are being offered that are coupled with it. So instead of going to multiple vendors, kind of find something right here. So, but yeah, check it out. Both categories, VoIP and UCAS. And UCAS is under
Absolutely.
the as a service category. It's not the communication category.
Excellent. Well, Garrett, thanks so much for hopping on here with me today. It's
Yeah, man.
President's Day. Did you buy your mattress? They've usually got a nice Day sale, right?
Man, you can only buy so many mattresses year in, year out. I'm done with mattresses. We moved a lot in the past several years, and so it was like, cool. All right, we're done with mattresses. All right, no more mattresses. Stop sending me all this spam mail. So, did you buy your mattress?
No, I bought one a few years ago. I
Oh,
love mine.
okay.
It's a third of your life, Garrett. Invest in it.
Yeah. Well, about 2 or 3 several years ago. It's just for the kids growing up and stuff. But
Mhm.
yeah, we're done for a long time. So hopefully we'll see. Yeah.
Good. Take care, everybody. I hope you enjoy the rest of your day, and we'll see you next week for the Stack Chart Spotlight.
Take care, everybody.